The alarms were still echoing through the metal halls when Eron reached the broken doorway. Smoke drifted from scorched panels. Sparks fell like small stars onto the floor. He could hear shouting deeper inside the room. Panic, fear, desperate breaths. Eron stepped in. The room was a storage chamber inside the alien outpost, but today it looked like a battlefield. Crates were smashed, tools were scattered across the ground, and in the center, hiding behind an overturned container, was a small alien child. The child's skin glowed a soft amber color, and its large eyes shimmered with tears. Eron did not know the child's name. He had only seen the kid earlier that day, walking with some caretakers through the market section of the station. But now, the child was all alone. Its small hands were shaking. Its breath came out in short, frightened gasps. Across the room, 8 armed raiders stood in a half-circle, their blades raised. The blades were long, thin, and curved, made from some strange metal that reflected the light like black ice. The raiders were tall and covered in dark armor. Their helmets hid their faces completely. One of them shouted in a harsh voice, "Bring the child, the Order wants it alive." Eron felt his jaw tighten. He had not come here to fight. He was only a simple engineer assigned to repair the outpost's power systems. He was not a soldier, not a fighter, not someone who should stand between killers and their target. But when he looked at the small alien child, shaking and alone, something inside him refused to move aside. The raider closest to Eron stepped forward. "Human, leave. This is not your concern." Eron shook his head. "I can't do that." The raider tilted his head. "You choose death?" Eron swallowed hard. His heart was hammering so fast it felt like it might break through his chest. His palms were sweating, his legs trembled. But he stepped forward anyway and placed himself between the child and the 8 blades. "I choose to protect someone who can't protect themselves," he said quietly. The raiders exchanged glances. Eron knew he looked ridiculous, just a human in a basic work suit, no armor, no weapon, nothing but his hands and his courage. But he also knew one thing. Sometimes courage was enough to buy a moment, and sometimes a moment was all someone needed to survive. The raiders charged. Eron moved without thinking. He grabbed a fallen metal rod from the floor and swung it at the first blade. Sparks erupted as metal struck metal. The force shook Eron's arm all the way up to his shoulder. Pain exploded in his ribs as another blade sliced across him. He gasped but stayed on his feet. Another raider lunged. Eron raised his arms to block, too slow. The blade stabbed deep into his side. Eron cried out, but he did not fall. He twisted, gripped the raider's arm, and pulled him off balance. The move shocked even Eron. He had never been trained, never learned any combat skill. He was only surviving on instinct. But instinct was not enough against 8 trained killers. A second blade stabbed into his shoulder. A third cut across his leg. A fourth sliced into his back. The pain was blinding. Warm blood spread through his clothes. His vision blurred. But every time a blade struck him, Eron stepped again in front of the child. He refused to let a single attacker near the small alien. He heard the child sobbing behind him. "Stay down," Eron whispered, though he wondered if the child even understood his words. Another raider drove a blade straight through Eron's side. Eron's knees buckled. He dropped to the ground. He could feel his life slipping away like sand falling between fingers. The 8 raiders stood over him, blades dripping with his blood. But then something unexpected happened. The child let out a soft cry, not of fear, but of anger. A bright pulse of energy burst from its small body. The light washed over the room. The raiders stumbled back, shouting in confusion. Eron blinked weakly. He saw the child crawl to his side and place a small glowing hand on his chest. The glow spread into him, warm, gentle, strangely comforting. His pain faded just a little. His breath steadied. But the world around him was fading into darkness. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was the raiders being thrown across the room by a powerful wave of energy. And the last thing he heard was the child whispering something in its soft, musical language. Something Eron could not understand, but somehow felt like a promise. Then, everything went black. Eron woke to silence. Not the soft silence of a quiet morning, but the heavy kind, like the world was waiting for something to happen. His eyes fluttered open slowly, and for a moment, everything was a blur of white light and shifting shapes. He blinked again. The ceiling above him was smooth silver metal with faint glowing lines running across it like gentle rivers of light. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like a medical bay. A light hum vibrated through the room, steady and calm. Eron tried to sit up. Pain shot through his chest and sides, and he sucked in a sharp breath. His muscles tensed. He remembered the 8 blades. He remembered the child. He remembered falling. He remembered dying. But he was alive. A soft voice spoke from nearby. "Do not move yet. Your body is still healing." Eron turned his head slowly. At first, he thought a giant shadow stood near his bed. But when his vision cleared, he realized it was no shadow. It was a warrior. Tall, broad-shouldered, covered in shining silver armor with deep blue markings, no helmet. His face was calm but strong, with eyes like polished stone. A long scar ran down one cheek, the kind earned in real battle, not training. Eron froze. The warrior bowed his head toward him. Not a small nod, a full, deep bow, like someone giving respect to a leader or a hero. "I am Ralnor," the warrior said, "and I am here to guard you." Guard him? Eron's brows pulled together. What happened? Eron asked. His voice was weak. Even speaking made his ribs ache. Before Ralnor could answer, the door hissed open. Another warrior walked in, then a second, then a third. Soon the room was filled with them, tall, armored elites with blue markings, each one bowing slightly as they entered. They positioned themselves around the room, silent and alert, like statues ready to come alive if danger approached. Eron's mouth went dry. Elite warriors? Guarding him? Why? He forced himself to sit a little higher despite the pain. "Where is the child?" he asked, fear tightening his chest. Ralnor stepped closer. "The young heir is safe, because of you." "Heir?" Eron repeated, confused. Ralnor nodded. "The child you protected is not just any young one. They are the next in line to the high lineage. Their bloodline rules the outer realms. The attack on them was a direct strike against the Empire." Eron stared. He had protected a prince, or something close to it. He shook his head slowly. "I didn't know. I just saw a scared kid." "And you stood alone between them and 8 assassins," Ralnor said, his voice low but filled with something like admiration. "You took 8 blade stripes that would kill even many warriors." Eron looked down at his chest. His shirt had been removed, replaced with bandages glowing faintly with some alien medical technology. The wounds felt sore, but not life-threatening. "How am I alive?" he asked. Ralnor's eyes softened. "The Heir used their healing pulse on you. They nearly drained their own strength to keep you alive until we arrived." Eron felt like someone had placed a heavy stone on his heart. The child had saved him too. "Where are they now?" he asked. "In the next chamber," Ralnor replied. "They wish to see you, but the healer said you needed rest first." Eron leaned back against the bed, breathing slowly. It felt unreal. Hours ago, he was just a repair engineer fixing power conduits. Now he was lying in an elite medical wing, guarded by warriors who looked like they stepped out of legends. "Why are all of you here?" Eron asked, gesturing weakly at the warriors surrounding him. Ralnor straightened. "By tradition, any warrior who fails to protect the heir must stand guard for the one who did." He paused. "And you, human, did what none of us expected." Eron blinked. "I'm not even trained. I just reacted." Ralnor shook his head. "Courage does not ask for training." Another warrior stepped forward, a woman with dark hair braided tightly behind her armor. She placed one fist over her chest in a salute. She said, "In our records, no off-world visitor has ever taken blade strikes for the Heir. Not even diplomats, not even soldiers. But you bled so they would not." Her eyes held something powerful. Respect. Deep respect. Eron felt heat creep into his face. Anyone would have done it. "No," Ralnor said firmly, "not anyone. Only someone with a heart strong enough to stand against death." Before Eron could answer, the door opened again. This time, the room fell completely silent. A small figure stepped inside, the child he had protected. Their amber skin glowed softly, but they looked tired, as if they had not slept since the attack. Their large eyes met Eron's, and a faint smile touched their face. They walked toward him with slow steps. Every warrior in the room dropped to one knee. Every warrior, except Eron. The child stopped at his bedside and gently touched his hand. The warmth of their small palm spread through him like sunlight. "Friend," the child said softly, in surprisingly clear human words. Eron felt his throat tighten. He was no soldier, no hero, but somehow he had become something important in this place. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The child's small hand stayed on Eron's for a long moment. Their touch was warm but also strange, like energy pulsed gently through their skin. It wasn't painful. It felt comforting. Eron swallowed hard. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being the center of attention, and now an entire room of elite warriors knelt in silence while a royal child held his hand. The child looked up at him. "You saved me," they said in soft, careful human speech. Eron blinked. "I just did what anyone should do." The child shook their head, slowly, very slowly, like someone who was sure of their answer. "Not anyone," they whispered. Ralnor rose first, stepping forward. "The Heir has studied many languages. They insisted on learning your tongue after the healers told them you would survive." Eron looked from the child to Ralnor. "They learned human language just to talk to me?" The child nodded again. Their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of their connection to the strange energy they used earlier. "I wanted to speak with my friend." Friend. The word hit Eron harder than any blade. He had never been close to royalty before. The child's small hand stayed on Eron's for a long moment. Their touch was warm, but also strange. Like energy pulsed gently through their skin. It wasn't painful. It felt comforting. Eron swallowed hard. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being the center of attention, and now an entire room of elite warriors knelt in silence while a royal child held his hand. The child looked up at him. "You saved me," they said in soft, careful human speech. Eron blinked. "I just did what anyone should do." The child shook their head slowly, very slowly, like someone who was sure of their answer. "Not anyone," they whispered. Ralnor rose first, stepping forward. "The Heir has studied many languages. They insisted on learning your tongue after the healers told them you would survive." Eron looked from the child to Ralnor. "They learned human language just to talk to me?" The child nodded again. Their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of their connection to the strange energy they used earlier. "I wanted to speak with my friend." Friend. The word hit Eron harder than any blade. He had never been close to royalty before, human or alien. And now a powerful heir, a child of an empire, was calling him a friend? He felt the heat rising in his cheeks again. Before he could respond, the door opened once more. A healer walked in, an older alien with silver skin and a calm face. Their long robes flowed behind them as they approached. "Forgive the interruption," the healer said gently. "The Heir must rest. Their energy pulse was too strong. They need time to recover." The child's shoulders dropped a little, but they nodded. They squeezed Eron's hand before slowly pulling away. "I will visit again." "I'll still be here," Eron replied softly. A faint smile appeared on the child's face before the healer guided them out. The door closed behind them, leaving Eron with the warriors once again. He suddenly felt tired, very tired. His body had gone through too much. Ralnor noticed and spoke quietly. "Rest now. We will keep watch." Eron let out a slow breath. "You really don't have to stand guard for me." Ralnor's eyes hardened. "We do. For honor, for our failure, and because the Heir has chosen you as someone important." Eron didn't know how to argue with that, so he simply nodded and leaned back. The bed adjusted automatically, lifting him into a more comfortable angle. The lights dimmed a little, sensing his fatigue. But sleep didn't come immediately. His mind kept replaying the moment, those blades stabbing into him, the child crying, the burst of light throwing the assassins across the room. Then the child calling him friend. It didn't feel real. After a few minutes, Eron forced himself to focus. "What happened to the raiders?" he asked softly. A warrior near the wall answered. "Captured. Interrogation teams are already working." "Who sent them?" Eron asked. Ralnor exchanged a glance with another warrior. "We believe it was the Shadow Circle." Eron frowned. "Never heard of them." "They are assassins hired by enemies of the Empire," Ralnor explained. "They target leaders, diplomats, and heirs, but they have never succeeded in reaching the young heir before." Eron exhaled slowly. "And the one time they did, a human repair worker stood in the way?" Ralnor's jaw tightened. "They were lucky you were there. The outpost should not have failed." Eron wanted to argue again, to say he didn't do anything special. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. He could have run. He could have hidden like a normal civilian. Instead, he had stood in front of 8 blades and almost died for it. Maybe he had done something special. He didn't know how to feel about that. The room stayed quiet for a while. Eron closed his eyes and finally drifted into a light sleep. Hours later, to a soft chime. The lights brightened slightly as the door slid open. This time, it wasn't the child. It wasn't a healer. It was someone different. A tall alien in ceremonial armor, more decorated than any other warrior present. Their armor had gold lines instead of blue, and their presence felt heavy, commanding, like the air shifted when they entered. Every warrior immediately stood straight and saluted with the fist across their chest. Ralnor spoke in a respectful tone. "Commander Tovin." The commander approached Eron's bed slowly. Their eyes studied him, not coldly, but with the sharp focus of someone who understood the weight of events. "You are the human who stood against 8 blades?" Tovin asked. Eron nodded. "I did my best." Tovin gave a short, firm nod. "Your best changed the path of our empire today." Eron blinked. "I don't understand." Tovin folded their hands behind their back. "The attack on the Heir was not random. It was part of a plan that reaches far deeper than we first believed. Your actions saved more than one life. You may have prevented war." Eron's breath caught. War? He was just an engineer. Tovin continued, voice steady but serious. "The High Council has summoned you. They want to question you themselves." "Me?" Eron asked, shocked. "Why me?" "Because," Tovin said, "the Empire must understand why a human with no training would choose to die for one of our own, and what that means." Eron felt a chill run through him. This was no longer just about saving a child. His choice had echoed far beyond the outpost, and now powerful eyes were turning toward him.
Eron sat on the edge of the medical bed, the smooth metal cool beneath his hands. The pain in his body had faded to a dull ache, but the heaviness in his chest remained. The words of Commander Tovin echoed again and again in his mind. "The High Council has summoned you." He wasn't ready for that. He wasn't even close. He looked at Ralnor. "Do I have a choice?" Ralnor paused before answering. "You do, but refusing them will only bring more questions, more suspicion. They need clarity, and your presence gives them that." Suspicion, clarity. Eron rubbed the side of his head. He never wanted any of this. All he had wanted was a simple job, steady pay, repairs to fix, and quiet evenings. He didn't want politics. He didn't want royal attention. He didn't want to stand in front of leaders who could decide entire wars with one word. "I'm not important enough for this," he muttered. Relnor's voice was firm. "Importance is earned in moments, not in ranks." Before Eron could respond, the medical bay door opened again. 2 attendants rolled in a floating transport platform, sleek silver with soft cushioning across the top. Tovan gestured toward it. "You will ride on this. Your injuries are not fully healed." "I can walk," Eron said quickly. Tovan's eyes narrowed slightly. "And collapse halfway to the lift? No. You protected our air. Let us protect your body in return." Eron sighed. He wasn't winning this argument. He let the attendants help him onto the platform. It hovered gently under his weight, humming softly. Relnor stepped beside him. "We will accompany you. No harm will come." Eron looked around. "All of you?" "Of course," Relnor replied. "You are under royal protection." It was strange. Eron didn't feel like royalty. He felt like someone who wanted to lie down and sleep for a week. The platform floated toward the exit. The doors slid open, and Eron found himself entering a long, bright corridor with walls carved in elegant shapes that looked like flowing waves. Tall, glowing pillars lit the hall. Everywhere he looked, armored warriors stood in silent lines, watching him pass. Their eyes held something he didn't expect. Respect. Not the forced kind, real respect. Eron felt smaller than ever. The corridor led into a large lift platform. It rose silently, carrying them upward. As it ascended, the walls changed from metal to transparent panels, showing the view outside. Eron stared. The outpost wasn't just a station. It was a massive floating structure hanging above a blue-green planet. Countless ships moved around it in neat flight lines, each glowing with engine lights. The view was breathtaking. He whispered, "I had no idea it was this big." Relnor nodded. "Our realm protects what is precious, the air, and now you." Eron wasn't sure how to respond to that. The lift finally stopped, opening into a huge circular chamber. The ceiling was high, covered with crystalline structures that glowed with shifting colors like a living sky. The floor was dark, polished stone, and in the center stood a raised platform with 7 tall chairs. The High Council. Eron's stomach twisted. Tovan motioned for him to approach. Relnor and the other warriors stopped at the edge. They were not allowed to go further. Eron swallowed and let the transport platform glide forward. When he reached the center, the platform slowly lowered until he was at eye level with the seated leaders. 7 figures in long ceremonial robes watched him. Their robes shimmered in gold, blue, and white. Their faces were calm, but unreadable. The central figure leaned forward. Their voice was deep and steady. "Human Eron, you were summoned here because your actions changed the safety of our air and the path of our empire." Eron's hands tensed. "I only did what I thought was right." Another counselor spoke, their tone softer. 8 blades struck you, and yet you stood. You protected a child not of your species, at the cost of your life. Eron looked down. A scared child is a scared child. Species doesn't matter. A faint murmur moved through the council. Surprise, maybe approval. The first counselor raised a hand. "Our empire has long believed humans to be unpredictable, sometimes violent, sometimes selfish, often refusing to involve themselves in alien affairs." Eron felt heat rise in his chest. He wasn't sure if he liked where this was going. "But you," the counselor continued, "acted with loyalty, courage, and sacrifice, even when you had no obligation." Eron met his eyes. "I saw someone helpless. I didn't care if they were alien or not." Silence filled the chamber. Then the counselor stood. "You have proven that courage is not limited to warriors or royal lines. You have shown that humanity holds virtues we did not expect. Another counselor rose. Because of this, we must decide how to move forward. Eron's breath caught. That doesn't sound good. But then the doors at the side of the chamber opened. Small footsteps echoed. The heir entered, wearing a simple robe, their eyes tired but bright. Every counselor turned toward the child with respect. The heir walked directly to Eron, ignoring the council. They reached out and touched his hand again. "Friend," the child said softly, "I asked to come." The counselors exchanged glances, clearly surprised. The child looked up at the council. Their voice was small, but filled with emotion. "He saved me. I want him protected. I want him close." The chamber froze. Eron's heart pounded. The heir had made a request of the highest level, and the council could not ignore it.
The chamber felt suddenly heavier, as if the heir itself understood the weight of the heir's request. Every counselor stared at the small child standing beside Eron, their amber skin glowing faintly, their hand resting gently on his. The central counselor spoke first, voice calm but layered with authority. "Heir, your words hold power, but you must understand, this human is not of our realm. Bringing him into matters of royal protection is not simple." The child tightened their grip on Eron's hand. "I understand," they said, voice soft but steady. "But he is my friend, and he saved me. He should not be alone now." The counselor hesitated. It was clear they were not used to the heir speaking with such certainty. Another counselor leaned forward. "Human Eron, do you seek reward, payment, honor? If the heir wishes you protected, we can provide many things." Eron shook his head quickly. "No, I don't want any reward." A faint ripple of surprise moved across the council seats. Eron took a slow breath. He didn't want to sound foolish. "I didn't do it for payment. I didn't even know who the child was. I just saw someone in danger and acted." The counselors exchanged glances. The heir's eyes softened and they stepped a little closer. "I told you," the child said quietly, "he is good." The central counselor raised a hand, signaling silence. "Your words are noted, but there are matters beyond simple gratitude." Ralna stood at the chamber's edge, watching tensely. The warriors behind him stood perfectly still, like statues made of steel and discipline. The counselor continued. "The shadow circle did not strike by accident. They seek chaos. If they learn the human survived, they may target him as well." Eron felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The idea had not even crossed his mind. "So," the counselor said, "placing you close to the heir also puts the heir at risk. You understand this?" Eron swallowed hard. "Yes, I understand." "And yet," the counselor asked, "do you choose to remain near them, knowing the danger?" Eron glanced at the child, who looked up at him with those glowing eyes full of trust. How could he say no? He nodded. "Yes, I'll stay near them." A simple sentence, but it echoed across the chamber like a bell. The heir squeezed his hand tightly, their face brightening. The counselors whispered among themselves. Some looked troubled, others looked impressed. After a long minute, the central counselor tapped the stone arm of their chair. The chamber fell silent again. "We have made our decision," the counselor announced. Eron's heartbeat thud in his chest. For the protection of the heir and the stability of the empire, the human Eron will be placed under royal guardianship. Guardianship? Eron wasn't sure what that meant. The counselor continued. "He will be assigned a protection detail, and he will accompany the heir when ordered. He will have limited clearance within royal grounds. He will be trained in basic defense and diplomatic conduct." Eron blinked. Diplomatic? Raunor barely hid a smile. The counselor finished. "And the heir has full permission to keep him within their personal circle as a trusted companion." A companion? The word hit Eron like a sudden wave. The chamber seemed to relax after the decision was spoken. The tension loosened. Even the warriors looked relieved. But the heir did not relax. Instead, they looked at the council, then at Eron, then back at the council again. "There is more," the child said, softly. Every counselor froze. The central counselor lowered their head slightly. "Speak, heir." The child stepped forward, letting go of Eron's hand. They walked right up to the base of the council platform, their small figure standing alone before 7 towering leaders. "I felt something when he protected me," the child said. "He didn't just block the blades. He cared. He wanted me to live, even though I was a stranger." The counselors listened quietly. "When I healed him, I felt his memories, his fear, his strength, his heart." The heir looked back at Eron. "He is more than a protector. He is a light." Eron stared, stunned. "I ask," the child continued, "that he stay with me, not only because he saved me, but because I trust him, because he is my friend." The request hung in the air like a bright flame. The counselors looked shaken. A bond between a royal heir and an outsider was rare, almost unheard of. But the heir was not demanding out of childish emotion. Their voice carried sincerity, clarity, and something deeper. After a long pause, the central counselor nodded slowly. "Then it shall be so." The warriors in the chamber straightened in respect. Era's chest tightened. He wasn't sure if it was pride or fear or both. The heir turned and smiled at him. "You will come with me now," they said softly. Eron nodded, still overwhelmed. "Where?" The child pointed toward a tall, arched doorway behind the council seats. "To the royal wing," they said, "your new home." Eron's heart thumped loudly in his chest as he followed the heir toward the tall arched doorway behind the high council seats. 2 guards in polished silver armor stepped aside the moment the child approached. They bowed deeply, first to the heir, then, surprisingly, to Eron. He still wasn't used to that. The doorway opened into a long corridor carved from smooth white stone. Soft blue lights glowed along the walls, creating a calm atmosphere. Every sound felt muted here, like the hallway itself respected the importance of its visitors. Ralnor and 2 other warriors walked close behind Eron, guarding him as if he had always been one of their own. The rest stayed behind with the council. Eron looked around slowly. "This place, it looks different from the rest of the outpost." The heir nodded. "Yes, this wing is only for the royal line. Not many are allowed to enter." "And I'm allowed?" Eron asked. "You are my friend," the heir said simply, as if that was the only reason needed. Eron didn't know how to respond to that. He had never been important to anyone before, not like this. His life had always been quiet, small, almost invisible. Yet now, a child of an entire empire had chosen him. The corridor opened into a grand hall. A tall crystal window at the far end revealed the stars and a view of the green-blue planet below. The hall was silent, peaceful, and warm. Ralnor stepped forward. "This section is secure. Only authorized beings may pass." The heir tugged Eron's sleeve gently. "Come, I want to show you something." They moved toward a smaller door on the right side of the hall. It slid open, revealing a room unlike anything Eron had ever seen. Soft white floors, floating lanterns drifting slowly in air, a wide bed with a blanket that shimmered like the surface of water, shelves filled with glowing crystals, small toys, and ancient carvings. It was the heir's private room. And it felt alive. The heir walked in and sat near a circular table made of smooth stone. They motioned for Eron to sit with them. He lowered himself carefully, his body still sore. The heir watched him closely. "Does it hurt?" they asked. "A little," Eron admitted. The child gently placed their hand on his arm. The warmth returned, the soft, glowing warmth he felt before. It didn't heal everything, but it eased the pain enough for him to breathe more comfortably. "I can help," the heir said. "You don't have to," Eron replied. "You already used so much energy on me." The heir shook their head. "I wanted to, and I want to now." Their voice was small but filled with sincerity. Eron gave a soft smile. "Thank you." The heir smiled back. Ralnor stood near the doorway, hands behind his back. The warrior's voice carried a sense of respect even when quiet. The heir has been restless since the attack. They insisted on seeing you every time they woke. Eron blinked. Really? The heir nodded shyly. You were sleeping for a long time. The healers said your body was trying to repair everything. I waited every day. Eron felt something warm and heavy grow in his chest. Not like pain, more like gratitude or responsibility. I'm here now, he said gently. The air brightened. Yes. For a moment, silence settled in the room. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt safe. Then the air spoke again, voice softer. Can I ask you something? Of course, Eron said. When the blades came, when the raiders tried to take me, why did you step in front of me? The child's eyes lowered slightly. You could have run. Eron took a breath. He wanted to answer carefully, honestly. I didn't think, he said. I just saw someone scared, someone small, someone alone. The heir looked up again, listening closely. I don't like seeing anyone hurt, Eron continued. And you were a child. That's all that mattered. It didn't matter what species you were. It didn't matter who you were. The heir's eyes filled with a soft glow. You cared. Yes, Eron said. I cared. The child leaned closer, resting their small head lightly against his shoulder. It was a simple gesture, but it carried deep meaning. You care like a guardian, they whispered. Eron froze. A guardian? Ralnor shifted slightly at the doorway, but said nothing. The heir continued. Most people protect me because they are ordered to, or because I am the heir. But you protected me with your heart. Eron felt his breath catch. He didn't feel like a guardian. He felt like an ordinary man who acted without thinking. But hearing the heir speak that way made something inside him settle, something that felt right. Before he could respond, the crystal window behind them flickered. Ralnor stiffened instantly. Warning, he said. Eron turned as faint red lines pulsed along the edges of the window, spreading through the room. An alarm, soft but urgent. Outside the window, distant lights flashed, like explosions far off in space. Ralnor looked at Eron, eyes serious. This is only the beginning. The soft red lights pulsed across the heir's room like a heartbeat. Eron stared through the tall crystal window as flashes lit up the distant darkness. Ships, small, fast, and sharp, were darting between beams of energy. Something fierce was happening out there. The heir stepped closer to the window, worry written across their face. Ralnor, who was attacking? Ralnor checked his wrist device again, his expression hardened. Not raiders, scouts from the Shadow Circle fleet. They are testing our defenses. Testing? Eron repeated. For what? Another attack? Ralnor nodded. They want to know how close they can get before the Empire reacts. A chill ran down Eron's back. The heir whispered, They are hunting. For me. The room went silent. A loud hum shook the floor beneath them, vibration traveling through the entire royal wing. The floating lanterns flickered, the crystal shelves trembled, even the bedsheets rippled. Eron grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. Is that normal? No, Ralnor said firmly. That is a hit on our outer shields. The heir looked at Eron with wide, scared eyes. I'm sorry. You are in danger because of me. Eron knelt slightly so they were eye level. Hey, listen, none of this is your fault, and I'm not going anywhere. The heir's small hands clutched his sleeve, holding tight. Before Eron could say more, the door slid open and Commander Tovin entered, armor glowing faintly with alert signals. Behind him were several elite warriors with weapons drawn. Eron, Heir, come with us now, Tovin ordered. The heir's voice trembled. Where? To the inner citadel, Tovin said, deep underground. It is the most protected place in the outpost. Eron stood quickly. If we leave, the station is on its own.
Tovin met his eyes. The warriors can handle the fleet, but if the Heir is captured, everything collapses. Ralnor stepped beside them. We must move, now. The Heir tugged on Eron's hand. Stay close. Eron squeezed back. I will. The group rushed down the corridor. Guards formed a tight circle around Eron in the air, shields raised. Bright red lights washed the walls as sirens echoed in distant chambers. The royal wing felt different now, not peaceful and warm, but urgent and alive with danger. As they ran, the ceiling lights flickered. Another vibration hit, stronger this time. Dust drifted from the upper beams. Tovin activated a communication link. Report. A voice crackled through. Enemy ships are approaching the second defense line. They're faster than expected. Static burst. Then the communication cut completely. The Heir's voice cracked with fear. We are losing, aren't we? Tovin didn't answer, which was answer enough. The group reached a wide circular chamber. Massive doors carved with ancient symbols sealed the path ahead. Ralnor placed his palm on a glowing panel. Lines of blue light spread across the door. Slowly, heavily, the door opened inward. Inside was a vast hall of stone, lit by powerful white lamps. Warriors hurried back and forth, preparing weapons and defensive systems. The air smelled like metal and tension. Tovin guided them toward the central transport platform. This will take us down to the citadel. But before they could step onto it, the hall shook violently. A deafening boom echoed through the chamber. Eron stumbled. Ralnor caught him just in time. What was that? Eron shouted. A scout sprinted toward Tovin. Commander, one of the Shadow Circle ships crashed into the outer hull. They're trying to board. Tovin cursed under his breath. Eron looked at him. If they board, they'll come straight for the Heir. Tovin nodded grimly. Exactly. The Heir's hand shook in Eron's grasp. Suddenly, alarms blared louder than before. A voice boomed over the hall speakers. Breach in Sector 12. Enemy forces entering. Warriors rushed toward the sound of distant fighting. Tovin turned sharply to Ralnor. Get the Heir to the citadel. Ralnor grabbed the Heir's shoulder. Come. But Eron didn't move. Instead, he looked down the hallway where the distant clash of weapons echoed. Something inside him, something he didn't fully understand, pulled him toward the danger. The Heir tugged at him. Eron, come, please. Eron took a slow breath. Fear churned inside him, but something else rose with it, something solid. I'm not leaving your side, he said. The Heir's eyes filled with relief. But then another explosion rocked the hall, close this time, too close. Warriors shouted. Smoke drifted through the corridor entrance. And from the smoke, dark armored figures stepped out. 6 of them. 6 assassins. Similar armor, similar blades. The same killers Eron had faced before. The Heir gasped. Them. Ralnor drew his weapon. Shadow Circle strike team. Tovin shouted, form a shield wall, protect the Heir. Warriors rushed forward, creating a barrier between the assassins and the child. Eron stood frozen for a moment. The memory of the 8 blades rushed back. Pain, fear, falling to the ground, dying. His body trembled. But then he heard the Heir's small voice behind him. Eron, don't leave me. He turned. Those glowing amber eyes looked at him with absolute trust. And something inside him snapped into place. He stepped in front of the child. Again, just like before. Ralnor shouted, Eron, no, get back. But Eron didn't move. He raised his fists, bare hands, trembling, wounded, but still lifted high. The assassins noticed. They spread out, blades humming with deadly light. Tovin's voice dropped. He's doing it again. Eron exhaled. His heart thundered. I'm not afraid this time, he whispered. Not anymore. The assassins charged, and Eron, just a human, untrained, battered, and determined, stood firm like an unbreakable wall. For the second time in his life, he chose to protect the child with everything he had. Because courage wasn't something he thought about. It was something he did.